Grimoire Zero is an anime I've been really looking forward to. As soon as I read the synopsis and saw the poster image, I thought I was going to have a great time with this, and also with Studio White Fox backing it, which is one of my favorite anime studios because they never really feel like they're adapting the same story or they're animating their things in the same way as their other, hits. I've always really enjoyed their series, and even their weakest series I've had fun with. And so far, this was a fantastic first episode and really makes me hyped for the remainder of the season, which is going to be a 12-episode season. Grimoire Zero, I think, is going to stand out as being a really fun and one of the best series of this season. Now, granted, this is only the first episode, and we haven't even had episode 2s of everything. Hell, we haven't even had episodes of 1s of everything. But just with what they did with this first episode, it really sticks out as being a great introduction episode, really getting you on board with the two central main characters, which is the female witch Zero, and then the male mercenary, which all we know is his name is Mercenary for now, because Zero doesn't care what his name is. Unless, she has a manservant, she doesn't care what the person's name is, which is kind of funny. So we have Zero and Mercenary, but they do a really good job at really introducing the world and kind of the mechanics that makes this world what it is, and really gets you on board with this quest that the two are going to undertake. What I loved is how they immediately get you on board with the idea of the magic and sorcery in this world. They clearly define and explain the difference between sorcery and the difference between magic. Magic being the stronger of the two, the more demonic, that allows you to basically freeform spells on the go. You don't have to make magic circles. And there's a clear defined rule set that has already been laid out. Obviously, we're going to have more as time goes on. But they did a brilliant job at defining the rule set, explaining the world, and showing the difference in kind of cruelty that this world has, as there are these creatures, which I think they're called the Beast Fallen or something like this. They more or less are people who have been infused with a spirit of a beast. The reason this was done is because you want to have the warrior of a human but the strength of an animal. So our main character, Mercenary, he's infused with some sort of tiger spirit, so he's a giant tiger-like man. But the thing is humans, they don't want to be around magic in any way, so they want to just take the heads off of Beast Fallen and sell them for money, whereas witches also want to hunt them down. So these Beast Fallen, like our mercenary friend here, he literally can't be around anyone. He hates witches for what they do, but he can't even be around humans because they don't want to be around him. So he's pretty much a isolated lone wolf kind of figure. And what I really like with this episode is how they introduce the concept of the witches, these sorceresses, and just the overall mechanics that make this world what it is, because they really get you on board with what this world has to offer, but also just the magic element. It's not too overpowering. There is a sense of magic, as I mean Zero herself literally has insane magic, but I like how it wasn't just we need to constantly throw fireballs. Literally, our main character is infused with magic, but it still has that magic feel without being overly flashy, if that kind of makes sense. With the actual visual presentation being rather interesting. It's not over the top when it wanted to spice it up, like when Zero was conjuring magic out of thin air. It looked rather good. But at the core, the character designs, they feel different than other anime even from the past couple of seasons. It's a high fantasy setting, but it really has really nice character models. They're not overly polished, but they're not under-polished either. It's kind of this nice middle ground, and I really got it, just immediately hooked with the character models, especially with Mercenary's character design himself. I really like it. But just overall, I felt like it really is interesting. I'm sure the story is going to get rather intense as the episodes go on. I mean, Mercenary is linked up with Zero herself. He's going to be her bodyguard, and in return, once their mission is complete, she's going to turn him back into a human without this beast form. And I think it's going to be a rather interesting journey if we're even going to see any sort of satisfactory ending by episode 12, unless they're planning to do maybe a split core for this, because this is only going to be 12 episodes. It's going to be hard to tell, but so far, they've shown me enough in this first episode to really get me on board of what they have to offer here. And I think just the overall action, I think, is going to be cool because Mercenary himself, he's a sword wielder, and he also has insane strength of an animal. So we obviously know we're going to have some great hand-to-hand combat. But then when it comes to Zero and the witches and the magic mechanic, we're also going to have some cool sorcery elements. So I think there's going to be a nice balance between the two of hand-to-hand combat, but also magic. And just the world itself, we can see how much people hate the Beast Fallen. And since we're following a Beast Fallen as the main character, it's going to be rather rather interesting to see how it progresses, especially because their destination is in the heart of the capital, which obviously isn't going to be easy for a giant tiger-like man. And I think just the way they introduced everything was really damn good. I saw a couple of people, different forum posts, a couple of YouTube videos, saying how they went in with too high expectations, they were expecting another ReZero. I think that's absolutely insane. You should not expect, this goes for anything. Just because a studio does one project doesn't mean their next project is going to be anywhere close to the same as the previous one. Just because, like, there's very few studios that have the same staff every single time, or at least a majority of the same staff. Like, if you look at Shaft, Akiyuki Shimbo, he's usually doing a directing role there. But in terms of White Fox, the director for Grimoire of Zero never worked on ReZero. Like, if you look at the overall staff listing for this project, it shares very few similarities minus the studio name for ReZero. Like, unless you're watching a work that's being adapted from the same guy who wrote the original work, or you're seeing the same director, the same art animation director, things like that, you should never expect the same thing. Like, just because a studio adapts something doesn't mean it's going to be even, like, feel the same as the other one. Like, the overall idea of Grimoire of Zero is nothing the same as ReZero, except it's a fantasy element. Also, the staff listing is completely different as well. But this first episode I thought was fantastic. Like, immediately within the first few minutes, I was on board. I was like, okay, this is interesting, this whole Beast Fallen element. And then it just progressed more and more to be more interesting. And they also had some really nice cute and comedy moments that I was actually a fan of. I thought it felt very cute and funny to me. Some people may not like that, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be an overpowering element. So even those who didn't like those types of moments are still going to probably be fine with this series overall, because it doesn't seem like that's going to be the overarching, like, hook for the series of these cute moments with Zero and Mercenary. But overall, I had a fantastic time with this first episode. I loved it, and I can't wait to see what episode 2 brings. But I'd be interested here. What did everyone think of the first episode of Grimoire of Zero? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Or do you think it was just okay? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. And before you leave, hit the like button to show your support. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.